Well, I would say the role of New Orleans Business Alliance started years before DXC even started looking for a new place to do business. We've been working for years to help grow the tech economy in New Orleans and help grow the tech ecosystem. And technology companies, as well as companies in any industry, will only locate in a city or a town or an area of a geographical area if they're very confident that they can find the workers that they need. So we've been working with the companies that are here in New Orleans that have been doing tech in New Orleans for the past 10, 15 years to make sure they have everything they need to grow here in New Orleans. And we've also been working with our educational institutions from K through 12 education to the universities, as well as the two-year universities, to make sure that they are turning out graduates and students who can work in these type of jobs. So the effort to land a company like DXC really starts many years before DXC even starts looking. DXC was working with a site selector on a national search, so they had criteria for the communities where they were looking. And they originally did not have the New Orleans area on their radar. They were down in the region looking at another area and said, oh, this is an interesting community. Maybe we'll come back and take a look at it. They went back, looked at some of the data points, realized that New Orleans had some of the qualities that they were looking for, and then we kind of moved on from there. And we had a number of visits where DXC employees came to New Orleans. They met with everyone from the real estate community to the current tech community to the educational community and talked to them about what's going on in New Orleans, as well as our city, state, and regional leaders. And that's where they were able to get a real good feeling of New Orleans may be the right fit for what we're trying to do. When we talk to site selectors and when we talk to companies who are looking for a place to do business, they tell us, we know all your data. We have access to all of that. We want to know more of what it's like doing business on the ground. We want to have introductions to business leaders who are there now. We want to have one-on-one introductions to the educational system and to the rest of the business community and the cultural and charitable worlds. So they know how many people are here, they know our average salaries, they know how many people are working in certain industries. They look to us generally for the things that you can't find in those data resources. After organizing quite a few of these visits, you really learn to keep the schedule tight. You want to get people interested and make sure they don't have too many opportunities to check their phone. But it's always a win when you can connect visiting businesses with local businesses who are successful here. They can talk about who they're hiring. They can talk about that process. They can talk firsthand about doing business in New Orleans. They can always give a much better story than we can about what it's really like doing business here. So we really focus on the one-to-one connection with companies. And we're only talking to and recruiting companies that we think can really thrive in New Orleans. So if a company really needs multiple nonstop flights a day to London and South America and Tokyo, that company may not be a great fit for New Orleans. But if it's a company that's looking for the high culture, the lower cost of business, and the entrepreneurial spirit, well, that's a great fit for New Orleans. So we go out there and say, who fits into what we have to offer? We also take a look at the state's incentives and look at what type of companies build a lot of software in-house where they can take advantage of some of the incentives that are available in New Orleans. All of our team members do everything. So we have team members researching the industry, as well as talking to companies one-on-one, as well as going to conferences, and we host a lot of people in New Orleans. Probably the biggest thing that we have to remember when we host people in New Orleans is that we need to show them the business side of the city. A lot of people in the United States have had experience with coming to New Orleans for either a convention or for a family vacation. So we need to take people out of the downtown areas, show them where we live, where people who live here work and play, and let them know that New Orleans really is a complete city and not just a tourist destination. The unique selling proposition for New Orleans really is high culture and low cost. We offer the unique combination of a world-class city. We're always one of the top destinations to visit in the United States. Our restaurants and our cultural attractions compete with the biggest cities in the United States, but doing business here costs about half of what it does in New York or California. We're also very affordable relative to other places in the middle of the country, Texas, Georgia, Chicago. So we feel that we can really offer a sense of community along with the cultural amenities that our big city has, but we can do it at a fraction of the cost that they can. So we have this unique middle ground that not a lot of other places in the United States can claim as their own. And oh, by the way, we've got a global brand. If you say New Orleans to people across the world, most of the time they're going to know what you're talking about, and they're going to understand the French Quarter, maybe jazz, maybe our food. So we've got that first kind of entry into people's minds already. It's just up to us to convince them that, hey, New Orleans is a great place to visit, but it's also a great place to do business. We work closely with the Convention and Visitors Bureau as well as the folks who promote tourism in New Orleans, because we know that we're often selling New Orleans as a great place to live, and a lot of the things that make it a great place to visit are a great place to live. For example, we've been working with some of our colleagues in the tourism industry to help DXC put together a list of all the festivals that are going to be in town. So when they're talking to people that they're trying to hire, they can say, hey, look, these are all the things that go on in New Orleans, and these are all the things that are going on this spring or this fall. And they're using the events that happen in New Orleans as a tool to recruit employees.